You are now tuned in to DameSmiff.
Welcome to Musician Talks with DameSmiff. This is episode 17, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and let anybody know that wants to join this conversation or have any questions about being an artist, being in the music industry, or anything like that. Today, I want to talk to you guys about styles as a musician. And I want to talk about how you can develop your own unique style, how you can fit into the current styles that are already out there, and how you can incorporate other musicians' styles into your own. So, what is style, essentially? Style, in my own words, would be your process to creating, your particular process, if that makes sense. Whereas another person may approach the same result in a different way. So what makes yours unique is essentially how you do it. Now, why that's important for artists, it goes hand in hand with, in my previous episodes where I spoke on practicing, it helps you develop and hone your craft, and it also puts an identity to your craft. Kind of like in a sense where people compare rappers to other rappers and they talk about their styles and flows and things like that. And then if you want to put it in another form outside of music, similar to driving styles, some people drive faster, some people drive slower, some are more cautious, some are more reckless. Cooking styles, you have talking styles. There's a lot of different styles out there. So as a musician, if you just sit in front of a piano like I am and you want to make and develop a style or even play a style, how do you do that as an artist? Well, first, my suggestion would be to identify what that style is and look into mechanically how it works. So if I look at, let's say, R&B music and compare that to jazz, at first glance, I would say the difference between the two styles is that jazz allows for more syncopation, dissonance, and a lot more improvisation in terms of its makeup as a style, where on the other hand, R&B is very melodic, not too systematic in how it's structured in terms of theory, but it has a cleaner look to it, or a cleaner sound to it in terms of constructing an R&B stylized song. Now, why is this important to artists and musicians in general? Well, there's the artistic side of it where if you're, living in a certain area, you're in a specific culture, or you were just raised listening to a certain style of music, that's kind of important because that helps influence how you create, and understanding that gives you a clear image on how and what you're doing when you create. Not necessarily your purpose, that's different, but it'll help you understand how. So like if you grew up listening to older soul musicians, or even you grew up listening to punk rock or metal or death metal, and now you're a musician and you want to create music, you can pull to those past experiences and help influence how you want to make your new music or join that style. So if you want to play death metal, it would behoove you to recollect your experience with listening and maybe going to shows of death metal bands. That way, when you are learning your instrument, where you're just learning your scales and things like that, when you start to move into creating with your instrument, it's a lot easier to understand how to utilize the techniques and mechanics of your instrument to bring the result of the style of music that you want to create. Now, that's just looking at it as a musician. But what is the career benefit to having a style, or even understanding styles or dealing with styles? The career benefit to that is your utility as an artist. Me personally, I would say I'm pretty good at about 3 styles, maybe. Yeah, I'll say about 3, and I would say that's hip hop, R&B, and jazz. And that's because of how I grew up listening to music, along with my education in music, and along with how I like to play music. Now, there's other genres I've played in, and there's other genres that I listen to, but as far as my style, it's going to be derived from pretty much those 3 main styles right there. Now, that's about as far as my utility will go in terms of creativity. Now, I can expand upon that if I were to step into maybe merengue music or polka music, or even we can go back to rock and, metal and things like that, opera, classical music. I have played some classical in school, but things like that will help influence my creativity. Thus, if I do get in a position career-wise where, let's say, I'm working on a jazz album, but comes along a gig that needs a, let's say, classical trumpet position or something like that. If I'm fluent in that style, then the opportunity is good there and I can benefit from it. Versus if I wasn't, then I would just have to turn it down for the sake of, not being able to fulfill the requirements of the gig. Now, as an artist, if you can master more than one style, more and more and more, the opportunities spread for you. So for some artists, they'll stick with 1, maybe 2 styles and then go into maybe more, what's the word? I guess I'll use like mechanical work in music, where they may engineer, teach, even make, build, and repair equipment. You can do consultations and things like that, but their style of music is what it is. Then on the other hand, you have musicians where you can put them literally in almost any situation and they can jump right in fluid and perform well, or if not, amazingly. And that can be super, super, super awesome for an artist. But how do you even get to that point as an artist? And I spoke about how you can pull from your influences and things like that. But what are some practical things that an artist can do to develop a new style or cultivate their own, or even join a style that's already existing? The first one that's pretty obvious is lessons. Have someone of the particular style that's professional in it and things like that. Pay them to teach you the style and the theory and the thinking behind the style of music. The other hand is, this one takes a lot more work, but to join the culture of the style, maybe join a band, go see some shows, walk the halls of the people that play it. So for example, if you want to get into orchestra music, there's pretty much orchestras in every major city. You would have to go there, find them. You can find them on Google, but there's a lot of community centers that have their own concert bands. There's some traveling concert bands, things like that. There's concert bands that are standalone, they just represent a portion of the city and things like that. You can find these people, join them, network with them, and then be a part, and through your experience and, having good faith and things like that, being a good person, you should be able to network yourself into a position where you're learning from those experiences to help cultivate that classical music talent and style. And then the third option that you have, you can typically study these things like on your own. You can jump into the culture. But another thing that you can do is to collaborate, which is to incorporate what someone else is bringing, or just their style, into what you're doing already. And in that sense, you're not necessarily learning a new style, but you're experiencing a new style, and that can develop influence. A good way you can see that happen is in hip hop. You'll see it a lot in remixes. So an artist may release a song and it's so popular that everybody all right, there we go. And other artists, they'll continue to recreate that feeling that artist made in the original song, but in their own, unique style. And what comes with that is a sense of collaboration. The biggest and most obvious way you can see that today, and it's a relevant one, is the Migos. Whenever they would release a song, the remixes that people would do, like the freestyles over the instrumentals or whatever, was their style, but done by another person, which hopefully they would put their own spin on it and things like that. But that's a form of collaborating two styles and forming something new, in a sense. I think that's it for today. Today's gonna be pretty short, pretty regular. Yeah, but be sure to like, share, subscribe. I'll be right back here tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Facebook Live, and I'll be editing and uploading this on YouTube later today. So subscribe on YouTube as well and join the conversation there. And that's it.